So we are here in Miami, Florida, with Graham Wood Drout. Thank you so much for being here. Uh, it's a it's an honor to be here and to be talking to you. So I just kind of want to start from the beginning and ask you, where you're from, born and raised, and how music was in the picture and your upbringing.
How that happened.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in
Yeah,
Newark, New
s-
Jersey. I was born in Newark, New
Thanks.
Jersey, 1953, and I was put up for adoption immediately. I was 3 weeks old,
Wow.
um, and I was lived in Clark for the first 8 years, and then we moved to Houston, Texas, and I was in Houston for 6 years, and that was rough.
Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, a kid from New Jersey heading up in Houston, Texas in 1961 was very tough.
Yeah. And how? In what ways was that?
Huh?
Just a culture shock, kind of.
Yeah, the kids were different. They were a lot rougher. There was a lot of extreme racism going on that I didn't experience at all
Okay.
as an 8-year-old, and just things I didn't understand.
Right.
And I was picked on for being a Yankee. I had no
Wow.
idea what the I didn't even know about the Civil War,
Right.
really, and they were still fighting it down there. So fortunately, I got out of there in '66. I came here to Miami. I lived just south of here, and I met some really nice kids. It was really great. And then my dad got transferred again to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil,
Wow.
and I didn't really want to go, but it turned out to be like the most defining 3 years of my entire life. Everything kind of changed then. A small American community. It was during the Vietnam War, so there was a lot of like anti-American sentiment going on, but also like hippies were cool, and we were all hippies, and that's where I got into music and art. More. I like to draw. I love drawing and all that. And in '67, I really got excited about what was happening on the radio. The new music. Miami had a AM station called WFUN, and on Sunday night they had WFUN Goes Underground, and that's when I first heard Hendrix and Clapton and
Wow.
Sunshine of Your Love and Purple Haze, and I just went crazy. This stuff really spoke to me.
Yeah.
Music became very important. And then boom, I'm in Brazil, and you don't have the access, to the records and things, and
Sure.
there are ways to get it. So the little community there, we just shared records with everybody, and I was kind of cool because I had some stuff. I brought things down there that, like the first Hendrix album, and things like that, and it just became really important. I wasn't watching TV, and so I was listening to music constantly. I was reading all the time.
Yeah.
I was drawing and painting and trying to make things. And in the school, we were there kind of entertaining each other.
Right.
As we went through our time there, we were our own entertainment, and everybody knew how to play guitar. And so I'd walk around with a guitar in a bag, and to ask people to show me stuff.
Yeah.
And that was going on. And when I came back to the States, I came back here to Miami, and I was going to school. And I wasn't any kind of big deal like guitar player. I kind of put it away for a while. And
Sure.
I saw somebody one night that really, this guy Kevin Hurley, from the Grove. And he was, folk singer and Grateful Dead and New Riders and all that, and I pulled my guitar out again. I got excited about it, and
Nice.
then a few years later, I graduated from FIU. I was working as at this department store over here at Dayland called Burdines, and I was there. I was an assistant manager of the loading dock when I finally left there, but I was there for almost 6 years while I was going to school. And then one day I just thought, I need a break because I'd been going and going. So I decided I'm gonna take some time off. I got some money saved up, and that week there was a lecture out at FIU. My one of my teachers his teacher was coming to town. This guy, Gary Winogrand, a photographer. And I went out there and I heard the lecture, and my teacher, Bill McGuire, says, I'm having a party at my place tonight down in Homestead for Winogrand. Why don't you come on down? And if I'd been working, I wouldn't have been, so
right.
Great. So I go down there, and he has a little wooden house down in Homestead, really something else, real old house. And I come in, there's the fireplace, and there's two guys sitting on the floor. One's got a guitar and the other's got a harmonica.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. They were playing blues. And there was a radio station here, WBUS, back in the 70s. And it was all jazz, 24 hours a day. And on Saturday night, Boston Bob Perry had a blues show from midnight to 3, where they'd play classic blues records, really good stuff. And I just loved that station. I had to be in front of the radio every Saturday night at midnight, whether I'm driving my car or at home or whatever. And so anyway, I meet these guys, and there's another guitar there. And, they said, you want to play? And I said, yeah, okay. So we all started playing together. And we had a great time. And there was also another person there, Mark Weiser, who was with the group. And Mark turned out to be eventually become the booking agent at Tobacco Road. But he was just hanging out with the guys.
Right.
And so anyway, the next day he calls me up and he said, man, it was really great meeting you. We had a blast last night. We're doing an audition at FIU. We're thinking about putting together a band, and we're going to do an audition. And the idea was they're going to learn like 5 songs, and if they could pass the audition, they'll start a band. Mm-hmm. So anyway, they go to FIU, playing in the Rathskeller, and I was there for the inaugural. And anyway, they got the gig, and they started a band, and I just started hanging out with them.
Yeah.
And I'd never played anything close to professionally, and but I just started hanging around, and I was like roadieing and doing things and just hanging out and having a great time. And then I would take my acoustic guitar to open mic nights, and I'd learn how to use microphones. I'd learn how to get in front of people. I was really bad at that. Yeah. But anyway, I so much wanted to do this. And they started getting me up to do a couple songs with the band each night. I do like Hoochie Coochie Man and Sweet Home Chicago, and get up there, and I'd put like 4 hours worth of energy into the 2 songs. And so anyway, I was doing this for a while, about a year. And then one day, they got a call to play at this place called Tobacco Road. Tobacco Road was in a really bad part of town, had a terrible reputation. It was right after the Mario boat lift, and a block off of A Street, and the thing is packed with Mario refugees, and it's open till 5 o'clock in the morning. Wow. Anyway, they got offered a gig there. And the singer, bass player, singer's wife, said, "There's no way. First of all, you're not going to play till 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're not going to play at Tobacco Road." So they said to me, "Could you do it?"
Nice.
And I'm like, "Yeah, I think I could do that." And so we go to this like a 2-week boot camp, where it was just go rehearse, and like I said, I had 0 experience with anything, and I thought I was awful. And we got to finally the day, and we get in there, and I said to the guy, I said, "Look, I'll do the weekend, but that's it. I don't think I can do this. I don't know that." So we go up there and we play a set, and they said, "Well, let's have a meeting. Let's go outside. We'll talk about what's going on." And I went there and I said, "I want to stay."
Yeah.
And that's how I got into music business.
The music. Wow. Yeah. So I didn't know that about Tobacco Road, that it was sort of a kind of a place of refuge for all the Cubans that came over on the Mariel, is what you're saying?
Well, it was
So that's just where they hung around.
it was a block off the river.
Yeah.
There's another bar next to it. It's called Lucky Strike that was really bad. It was shots and drafts, like none of that mixturing stuff. And Tobacco Road, I'd go to work, and we just, here we were in our 20s, and we thought this was so cool. We get down there, and it was like going to like the bad part of town.
Right.
There'd be people laying in the door. I mean, like stabbed in the doorway.
My gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, right. And I'd go to work to be an ambulance out front, and it just had a really bad reputation. But there's a place Club in the Grove. One of them had closed at like 2 o'clock, and everybody would migrate over to Tobacco Road till 5. And so we're here all night being ignored by these like Mario refugees. And then at 3 in the morning, this crowd would come in, and they'd be all excited. And we'd play till 5. We just kept going. We're so starved for attention. And that's how we really got our thing going. And then we had a gig in Coconut Grove on Sunday afternoons, pretty much on the sidewalk. Yeah. Paid $100 for 5 guys, wow. $20 a man, and we really created a huge following from that, just being out on the street. And we were one of the original poster bands where we went around in the middle of the night hanging up flyers. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We do that all night long, hanging up flyers. Next day they'd be gone, and we go back out there again and put them up again.
Back. Yeah.
And that was us. But it worked out good.
So what year would that have been that you started playing at Tobacco Road?
1980.
1980.
It was. Here's a little funny side story. My very first paying gig, where the band had been double booked, and there's a place in the Grove where we're going to play, and there was another one. Anyway, they put together another band to cover this. So we're going, why don't you just cancel? No. So anyway, it was me and some other guys, and I'm all excited. This is my very, very, very first professional gig, and outdoor, right in the corner of 27 and US 1. So as the night progressed, the place got emptier and emptier. It was quiet, and it was just really weird. And a friend of mine comes in, and I go, "Hey, check it out! I'm in a band." He was in a band also. I said, "Look at this, man!" And he goes, "There's a riot." I said, "What do you mean?" They go, "There's a riot. Miami is the Miami riots of 1980, the McDuffie riots." And so I started paying attention. There's sirens everywhere. Went out front. The National Guard was set up in front of the club.
Oh my God!
And we were behind lines. Oh, what a night that was! But that was my first
professional
my
gig.
first professional
on the day of a riot
gig.
Wow!
I started. Oh yeah, you want to hear another one?
Oh yeah.
My first. This is a few months later. Is in December. And so December now. I've been in the band since August or so, and we had a place called the Agora Ballroom up in Hallandale, there's one in Cincinnati. There was a big thing, and every Monday night was blues night, and we were the only working blues band that anybody really knew of. There were groups in Overtown that never got out of there. Then we didn't even know about these guys. Eventually, we were able to bring them into Tobacco Road and get these guys some real attention. But on Monday nights, and so here was my first real major concert. I'm opening for Muddy Waters.
Wow.
And I'm just, we're all just crazy excited about this.
Oh my God.
And we're Muddy Waters. My God, that's how it doesn't get any better. And that was the night I was talking about Bob Perry and Nothing But the Blues.
Mm-hmm.
we got off the stage, we did our set, and this guy comes over and he says, "You guys sound good," And so I had a radio show, and my name was Bob Perry, and I was like, "No." It's another great thing. I drag him into the dressing room. And then somebody comes in and says, "John Lennon just got shot."
Wow.
And so, you talk about these like extreme emotional highs.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, way up here, and then suddenly there's that, and it's hard to get like, it just took the damper off of the whole evening.
Yeah.
But I had a lot of stuff like that, where it's
Really?
just up and down.
Wow. So that was
That was 82.
82. You opened for Muddy Waters on the same day that John Lennon was shot.
I was on stage when he got shot.
Wow. Were you able to meet Muddy Waters?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Here's another funny story. We go over there. What I used to do, I'd bring a bushel of oranges every Monday, and I'd send them over to the band with Johnny Winter, George Thorogood, all these other. We'd send them with a note saying, "Thank you for letting us share your stage. Have a great time in Florida." And every time somebody'd come over and say, "Hey, come on over, and so wants to meet you or thank you for this stuff."
Sure.
So, Muddy, we go over there with Muddy, and we're sitting there, and he had such a presence.
Mm-hmm.
When some of these, like John Lee Hooker and these guys, when you're sitting there with these guys, there's something really special going on. They just have this aura, this magic. And anyway, Muddy says, "So now you guys are really good." He says, "The next time, I'm going to open for you."
Wow.
So we're like, "Wow, man, Muddy Waters," like, oh. So then a few years later, I get this promo package from a band up in North Carolina called White Wolf. And on their bio it says, they did a show with Muddy Waters. And after the show, Muddy said they were so good, next time he was going to open for them. And I thought, like,
You said that to everybody.
just like, here you go, like, good for you, good little blues boys here, good for you, But that's my generation. Like, I'm 70 now, and it's like my generation were the guys, the last generation to see the real deal. I mean, the ground zero guys.
Right. Yeah.
It's like with Lightning Hopkins, or we really, when John Lee Hooker, we did a show with him at the Agora. And the band comes out and plays a couple warm-up stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, not the latest, not the greatest, the godfather of the blues, John Lee Hooker.
Mm.
And Hooker comes out and he's got the suit on. I got a photo of him over there, but from that night. Yeah. And he gets on the mic and he goes, "Yeah." And you never heard anything like that. Yeah. I mean, it just rumbled right through your. Jeez, it was just in your guts. Yeah. That voice. "Yeah, I want to boogie with you." And I was thinking, nobody is gonna. You can't even like do that on a record. You had to be right there, in front of the PA, mm-hmm. And just to experience like the sound that can come out of a human, mm-hmm. Like Howlin' Wolf. These guys were just. And the genius of Sam Phillips, who heard this and said, "Hey, this is worth saving. This is worth encouraging." Yeah. And I got to meet Sam Phillips up in Memphis at a convention, and that was quite a day. And he was doing a little Q&A session, and I asked him, I said, "You're obviously very excited about what was happening in the 50s and all that. Do you still have that same kind of passion?"
Yeah, no.
And he goes, kind of like Dave Edmunds. And that was his answer.
Nice.
But like I said, I got to meet Sam Phillips. I got to meet Muddy, and I've had over the years with Tobacco Road, I've had people stay here. I've had Helen Wolf's partner, Hubert Sumlin, stayed here. And Pine Top Perkins, from the piano player from Clarksdale, Mississippi, he stayed here a few times. And that's another interesting story. Pine Top was sitting in my sofa in the living room there, and he had my acoustic guitar, and he's playing the guitar. And I said, I didn't know you play guitar. And he goes, oh, yeah. That was my first instrument. And he said, then this happened. And he holds his arm up, and the muscle's gone. Somebody shot him with a shotgun and took out, he says, he says, I couldn't do this anymore, so I learned how to do this.
Wow.
And, you think about somebody who's just so full of music that if he can't play the guitar anymore, he'd figured out, he became one of the greatest boogie-woogie blues piano players of all time. And maybe if he hadn't been shot, that might not have happened.
Right.
But he'd studied with Ike Turner, or no, he taught Ike Turner, and
Ike Turner.
So I got to become friends with Pine Top, and that's just been the best thing about my career is the people that I was able to be with and talk to and hang out with. It's been really great.
Yeah, I mean that's a huge learning experience, and then just the passing of history.
Oh, and the wisdom.
Yeah.
And also the real, you figure out what the real deal is. What these guys are bringing to the table. And if you go back, I listen to a lot of I love Delta blues playing, the guitars, and just the precision and what's coming out of these guys. They're really not appreciated. Just how great some of these guys really were.
No, especially when you consider, and I think for my generation, it's important to realize this is these people, they didn't have the internet, they didn't have even teachers or books or anything. How so many of them are just by ear and self-taught.
It's worse than that.
Yeah.
I was listening to a radio interview, the recorded interview with Jimmy Reed, and Jimmy Reed, he wrote a lot of great songs. And anyway, the interviewer says to me, he says, so Jimmy, do you write your own songs? And he says, no, sir, I just make some up. And
wow.
And it dawned on me at that moment, he was illiterate.
Right.
A lot of these guys didn't know how to read, so they weren't writing it down. They weren't going through the rhyming dictionary and figuring out what's going on. It was just, and I find that the more intelligent and better, well-written the song is, the easier it is to remember. When things get kind of, left field, it's not easy to remember the stuff that doesn't make 100% sense. So these guys are committing all these songs to memory. There's no way for them to write them down, and they evolve. But still, that was a big moment for me when I thought about Jimmy Reed and the fact that he was illiterate and was such a really great songwriter.
Right.
And really got funny, intelligent stuff, and it's classic. The people are still being listened to all the time.
Yeah. Wow. And so the band that you would have been playing with, opening for a lot of these guys, was that Iko?
No, they're that would be Fat Chance Blues Band.
Fat Chance Blues Band.
5-piece band, 2 guitar, bass, drum, and harmonica.
Okay.
And we were real serious about Chicago blues. We did a lot of Junior Wells and Muddy Waters, and we did a lot of Thunderbirds. We did too much Thunderbirds, and we inspired a lot of people coming down see what we did. And that's all these other bands started popping up with, like Nicky and Lynn Noble and Fleet Starbuck and this like Jurassic period here, and nobody even knows who these guys are anymore. We got so many, like the scene in South Florida is really good.
Yeah.
Where you got Albert Castiglia, the J.P. Soares, a lot of like national stuff gets coming out of here that just wasn't here 40 years ago. Rochelle Koba.
Yeah, I was talking to Nikki about this when I interviewed her, because she was talking about how she had her band and playing around here, and there was a real strong scene. And I feel like now, as someone who's come here in the last 4 years for college, that's not a blues scene isn't something that I wasn't as aware of it, or I don't see it around as much.
No, it's up in Broward. There's more going on. We used to have a lot of stuff going on down here, just kind of not anymore. Trying to think, I had another brilliant thing to add to this. I forget what it was. But Tobacco Road was just a real game changer for music in South Florida.
Yeah.
We had created an audience. My band Fat Chance had created an audience, and we kind of brought that to the road. And then we were saying to them, man, we'd really like to see some national acts. Could we do that? It's a small place. And they were like, well, we don't know, and all that. And they brought in John Hammond, solo performer, really amazing guy. Hendrix was in his band in New York,
Yeah.
And so Hammond comes in, and it's a huge success. The night is great. It's sold out. It's really good, and a lot of people discovered the road that night, and so they said let's try another one. They brought in the James Cotton Blues Band, and what a powerhouse that there was, and once again, huge. The people responded really well, and so they started bringing in the nationals, and eventually, we had the outside, the back parking lot, and we were able to use that, and we'd bring in people like Little Feat, P-Funk, who else? Dr. John. Everybody, Thunderbirds, we brought all these bands, and then every weekend I'd be trading sets with, Junior Wells and Buddy Guy and Coco Taylor and Albert Collins and Lonnie Brooks, and that was I'm getting paid to be here.
Yeah.
I do my hour downstairs, and I go upstairs and watch these guys for an hour.
Yeah.
Then I come back down again, and and just the people coming in the club. I was going to say how Tobacco Road changed the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
In the 70s here in Miami, things slowly became more and more disco.
Right.
And live clubs, you'd have a stage and suddenly you got a DJ booth you got to work around.
Yeah.
In the middle of it. And then so it was more disco, and South Beach wasn't happening yet. That was still just old people and derelict. And Tobacco Road, we had music from 10 to 5 and 10 to 4 in the morning, almost every night. And but the weekends would just rock. And so this started happening, and then up in Fort Lauderdale, the Exchange up there was all jazz, and they started noticing that, this blues thing's happening pretty good. And also it started creating a line. You could go to Fort Lauderdale, you can go to Miami, you can go to Key West, and there's a reason to come this far south.
Sure.
There was work.
Yeah.
And so, Tobacco Road was a lot, and then other clubs started popping up. The Stephen Talk House, Stella Blue, Woody's on the Beach from Ron Wood, his club.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they'd bring in some serious stuff. I got to play with Willie Dixon. I got a call one like Friday morning. Do you guys know who Willie Dixon is? And I go, yeah. He was like the he wrote all the blues rock. If you name all this stuff, Willie Dixon was a bass player, a songwriter. He plays all the Chuck Berry stuff from the 50s. Willie's playing bass on there.
Wow.
And so he was one of my heroes as a writer. And so, do you know Willie Dixon? Yes. Do you know any of his songs? I know all of them. So they said, well, you want to play with him tonight?
Wow.
So so the band went down there, and we're playing with Bobby Keys from the Rolling Stones on sax, Ron Wood on guitar from the Rolling Stones.
Oh,
I
God.
got Willie Dixon. I got the drummer from Bad Company.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't even know his name. And so anyway, that was like a boy, oh boy, what a night that was. And then same thing happened. I got a call. Do you know Bo Diddley? And I go, yeah, I know Bo Diddley stuff. You want to play with Bo Diddley? And this is over at the Stephen Talk House. And we had a little bit of rivalry going on. The Talk House was trying to get Tobacco Road's clientele. They were doing that kind of stuff. And so we were never asked to play over at the Talk House. Yeah. It's like sending Ronald McDonald to Burger King.
Right.
But anyway, this night they needed a band for Bo Diddley. So there used to be a little store over here that specialized in only like music videos.
Really? Wow.
It didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But you can find anything over there. Mm-hmm. I went over and I found this Bo Diddley in England. So I brought it home, put it on, and it had the rehearsals for the show. Wow. And Bo Diddley's telling everybody what he wants. Mm-hmm. So I got the band together. I said, check this out. Mm-hmm. And we watched the videos. We listened to what Bo Diddley had to say. And so we go to the club that afternoon for rehearsal with Bo Diddley. And the guy says, he's not going to play any of his hits. He'll probably play for you guys, probably up there an hour, maybe hour and 15, but that'll be it. He'll be going home. And we met Bo Diddley. We started. He starts off. He goes, "I'm Bo Diddley, and I play that Bo Diddley beat. Yeah. I don't want you playing that. I don't want the bass playing it. I don't want the drums playing it. That's what I play. Yeah. I want you." But anyway, we already knew this, and what he wanted. So we kicked in the first song, and he's like, "What the hell?" We had it. Yeah. That night, the first set was 2 hours long. Nice. He took a break, and then we did another 2 hours. It was crazy. I think he played absolutely everything he ever knew. Yeah. And we were just like, everybody was so thrilled. It's like, man, he must be having a good time with you guys. Yeah. And so that was a great night. And plus, we added a lot of Bo Diddley stuff to our sets. Just a lot of his songs.
And that was also with Fat Chance.
Huh?
That was with Fat Chance.
No, that was Iko.
That was Iko.
And this was like 91, I guess. 91, 92.
At the Talk House, you said?
Yeah, Stephen Talk House. There's one on Long Island, the original.
Oh, really?
And I played up there, and it's a really, really small club, and they'll get bands like the Jefferson Airplane in there.
Really?
It's very intimate. Yeah. Tickets are like $100 a head. And this was 20 years ago. Yeah. But that's what the Talk House is all about. Sure. Just the wealthy Long Islanders.
And so you started playing at Tobacco Road in 80?
1980,
1980. Yeah. And do you know when Around Tobacco Road opened?
There's a lot of like mythology around this place. Okay. They said that Tobacco Road opened in 1912. Okay. But there's not much that they kind of made up a lot of this stuff. Okay. It was the building was there before that, and it was originally a bakery. And so you had the downstairs was a bakery, and then during Prohibition, they had a second level and upstairs, which wasn't really that obvious when you went in the building, you didn't get the feeling like there was an upstairs.
Yeah.
But the upstairs was a speakeasy.
Nice.
And there was actually, in one part of the place, there was a closet, like a bookshelf, where you could reach back there, pull out a peg, and open it up. And that's where they'd hide the liquor.
Wow.
And and then during World War II, it went through some different names. It started off as Tobacco Road, named after the play. And then it became, it was the mile-long bar, had the longest bar in Miami. And then it was the Chanticleer. It was a gay club. And it was, as a matter of fact, it was a transvestite club. And that was upstairs. And so that was totally underground. And then, they talk about, Notorious Tobacco Road, off limits to the military. Well, it was because it was a gay bar.
Right.
It wasn't because it was rowdy or what have you.
Wow.
So they went through that. And then back in the 50s, they changed the name back again to Tobacco Road. It was Chanticleer for a long time. And one night I was playing up at the North Miami Museum of Modern Art, the music series out there, and I was sitting on a bench on a break, and this old woman comes over, and she said, "Are you the band from Tobacco Road?" And I said, "Oh, yeah. I played there. I used to play accordion back in the 40s.
Wow.
At Tobacco." She said, "The first car I ever bought was stolen right in front of the club." I said, "Yeah, that's Tobacco Road." And anyway, I didn't get her name right, and then she was like gone. But she said she'd walk up and down the aisle playing accordion at night for tips. And then they, in the 60s, it was just kind of there, and it was kind of place. I know in the 70s, people would go down there. It was like you're going to like an anthropological mission. There wasn't much going on. They might have had acoustic solo acts or at one time or another. And then this guy Neil bought the place around 1980, and he wanted to make a topless club out of it. But he couldn't get anybody to work there. They built this little semicircular stage with a mirror behind it and a strobe light right in front of the bar, which was like 4 feet in front of you. There was no backstage. So if you were there, if you were stripping in this place, you were in the mob.
Right.
And so nobody wanted to do that. And and Neil had a shotgun behind the bar. And when things got rowdy, he was like, "Shh, that's it, hold it." And you hear the gun, go off, cocking the shotgun. And of course, we just thought this was some cool,
Yeah.
Oh my God, man, this is awesome. A real deal. We're this is bad. And so that's going on there. And so they hired us because they couldn't get strippers to work there, and we'd set the drums up on the little stripper stage and stand in the hallway playing guitar. But I was going to add, I was talking earlier about how Tobacco Road changed the landscape.
Yeah.
So we're bringing in these national acts, and I had a friend, Richard Shelter. And Richard was very much into punk rock. And he was trying to put things together. And he's the one who had the band The Preachers that I got Nick Kane from. But anyway, Richard talked to Tobacco Road, and he said, "I want to start bringing in like hardcore punk bands." And he's the one who got the Cameo Theater going on the beach. And he started bringing in, Dead Kennedys, Fear,
wow,
Texan Horseheads and all that. And it was being bankrolled by Tobacco Road. But the thing was, you can't tell anybody that we're bankrolling this stuff. So right there, I mean, this was like stuff that was happening right now. The bands, I'm trying to think what other ones said. John Cale. I remember I had to pick up a piano for him in my van. And I'd get to go see the shows.
Yeah.
And oh my God, it just that what's it, Jello Biafra?
Oh yeah.
With Dead Kennedys. But it's just incredible stuff. And so like Tobacco Road was responsible for that, which people don't know.
Really?
You
Why
know?
did they want to keep that hush hush?
Well, they didn't like the idea of the
image.
punk rock and the whole thing, but it was all about music and helping, and so and plus that stuff there's a lot of baggage going on with that kind of the potential for bad stuff. And one night, the stage was a boxing ring. Boxing rings aren't solid.
Right.
They get some play in them. And I forget which band it was, but it was one of the hardcore. And anyway, the PA started like falling off the stage into the audience. Oh man, the speakers. But in this one group, the sewer zombies, where they get this just this thrashing music on, the guy can't find his beer, and that's all he's talking about. I want my beer. Where's my beer? They're so drunk. But anyway, and then these guys had come over after the gig. Where would they go? Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
So I'm on stage and I'm playing with guys like Smog Vomit, and we're doing like Somebody's Gonna Get Their Head Kicked in Tonight.
Wow.
Which is an old kind of Fleetwood Mac song that was done by the Rosillos. But anyway, it was just fun. Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Really, Joan Jett? Wow.
Yeah, they're sort of guys. They can swing. But they were that was another thing. Tobacco Road was the hot spot. So you had actors, famous actors are in there. Anytime they're filming something, Colin Farrell's hanging out there 7 nights a week.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I get all kinds of people. And then, bands had come in there to see other bands, like the Romantics. Those guys were always in there one time or another. But it was so unusual because Tobacco Road was like no man's land.
Right.
You'd have bikers, you'd have FBI agents, all the people who work downtown for the all that stuff. They'd even have lunch there in the middle of the night. All the news anchors would be hanging out there 2:00 in the morning, and Weaver the Weatherman had come in a tuxedo, want to play drums, and Jim DeFeedy. But it was really like a social. They said like Mohawk bikers dance with legal paralegals, and everybody was there. It was really cool.
Wow. And so, but Tobacco Road closed in 2014, right?
Yes, it's actually 9 years ago Wednesday.
Really? Wow.
Yesterday, 2 days ago.
Wow. So, according to the starting in 1912, over 100 years.
Yeah.
102 years. Wow. So was it just, if you're aware, the closure in 2014 just business, or it wasn't?
Well, what had happened was the block got sold to I think like Hyundai of Venezuela or something. So some big conglomerate bought the block, and now Tobacco Road was renting the building back from the owners.
Yeah.
I mean, the block is still there. The only thing missing is Tobacco Road, and because they wanted to make sure that wasn't given any kind of historical. They tore it down like a week later.
Really?
And it was like people got paid off, and then the Historical Society, there was some kind of convention in Chicago, and they were out of town when this, and they came in there and boom, I went down there and watched them bulldoze it. And what had happened was Tobacco Road is renting the building back from the owners, and business as usual. And then for some reason the city decides to do a 50-year inspection. And they go through the whole thing, and they tell them you got to fix this. You got a building that's over 100 years old. I mean, there was some like real atrocities in there with electricity and stuff. So
Yeah.
they were told, well, if you fix all this stuff, you can reopen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the new owners don't want to put any money into it because
Sure.
they want to tear it down eventually, and the old owners don't want to put any money into it. It's not theirs,
Right. They're renting. Yeah.
and they can be thrown out of there at any time. And so anyway, a week later, boom, they brought in can you see up in the corner there
Mm-hmm.
that on the wall?
On the wall. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That was part of the. I painted that on the inside. It was like on the front of the kitchen.
Oh, really?
And they just came in and they drove through. And anyway, a friend of mine grabbed it and hid it underneath a car. And he called me up and he said, they got it. And he said, you can cut that off and square it up. I said, no. That tells the story.
Mm-hmm.
That they just crashed through the walls and tore it down. So I got that hanging there. A little bit. That's part of Tobacco Road.
Yeah, it's an artifact right there. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Wow. Ugh, that's too bad. I had heard about talking to Nikki and just with the blues scene in Tobacco Road, and I was like, oh, where is that? I want to visit it. Oh, shut down. That's a shame. Considering its legacy and its impact.
Yeah, really. It really. I'm saying, like, this was before South Beach and all that, and this was a place where, for the first time since the '60s, really, that there was a place in Miami that was dedicated really to making world-class music.
Yeah.
And then being around that, in Coconut Grove in the '60s, you had a lot of people living down there. David Crosby was living down there on a boat.
Wow.
Joni Mitchell had a weekly gig at a place called the Gaslight. She worked on Wednesday nights.
Oh, wow.
And did 2 shows on Wednesdays. You had over here where the Titanic, there by the U of M.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
that was
Titanic.
originally what was it called? I should know this. I'm getting old. But that was like a super hot folk club in the '60s.
Wow.
Where you name it, and they played there. Like it was like the whole world. John Sebastian, like Lovin' Spoonful, and, just everybody.
Wow.
And that's why the Grove people hanging out there. Neil Young. Neil Young had come into the road every once in a while on
Really?
like a weeknight. He wasn't on the weekends.
Yeah.
And Steve Stills.
Wow.
I hosted a jam there back in the early '90s where I met a lot of really cool people. But I was playing one night, and anyway, the guitar stops, and I'm up front singing, and I don't hear the guitar, and then it comes in again. It's like, whoa, what the? And I look around, it's Steve Stills.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Oh, when the Allman Brothers were doing recording out at Criteria, they'd come in the road on like Friday, Saturday night. Warren Haynes.
Oh my God.
They'd be sitting in usually upstairs.
Yeah.
Not with me,
Oh
but
my God.
that's the kind of stuff. It was a real music club.
Yeah.
Real deal.
My God. Yeah. Those are huge names in there. Wow, that's incredible. And so, you started playing there with Fat Chance Blues
Yeah.
Band, and
then we left. We were there for about 6 months, and it was just crazy, and the money was really bad, but we didn't care. We were just the whole idea was that we got a gig.
Yeah.
Right. What's it pay? It doesn't matter. We got a gig.
Yeah.
There were no blues clubs when we
Sure.
first started. There was zero, absolute zero. And so we were the guys that put like Tuesday night at the jazz club,
Right.
or we'd play Sunday afternoon at the country
Yeah.
bar. And but there was no place that was blues, so we were always like the oddballs coming in. Tobacco Road was like the first designated 100% blues club in South Florida. That's something we did. Then we played the Old Grove Pub. That was another good one. it didn't pay much money, but you could hear us all over Coconut Grove.
Yeah.
We were loud. we were a loud band, and put a lot of that punk energy. I really liked punk music.
Yeah.
And I went around all the clubs out on the beach. They had the place like the Blue Water Hotel. All these like little old people sitting on the porch, and inside in the rec room you'd have like the Eat or the Weasels or Cichlids or
Wow.
stuff like that. And then there was a club, the Turf Pub on South Beach, where on like Wednesday night was punk night, and they were doing pretty good until there was a group called Violent Love and the Dead Whores, and they started spray painting their name on walls, and that was the end of that.
Yeah.
That killed the music there.
Oh man.
And then you had the Tight Squeeze up in Fort Lauderdale that was designated to like punk rock. That was a good one. But I'd get out there, and so we tried to put a lot of that energy into our show.
Yeah.
And
right.
They kind of keep the songs, keep them kind of tight, 3 minutes, and hit it real hard. And we do stuff like dun 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 2, 3, 4 dun dun dun. I mean, just bang bang bang, and so that's how we came in, because we were doing shows with these guys too. We up at like FAU or somewhere. We're doing it with Charlie Pig and the Eggs, or the Chant, or Larry Joe Miller, the Rockabilly Rockets. The Misfits, the ones that.
Wow.
So there we were, the blues band.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So at what point did Iko come into the picture?
Iko, that was 82.
82, okay.
And there was other Fat Chance bands, and it got really bad. There was a Fat Chance up in Georgia that was really popular. And we went up to a show up in Tallahassee, opening for B.B. King and Bobby Bland at the Leon County Auditorium, like 10,000 people.
Yeah.
And it was a really big deal. And so we opened the show, and I'm in the back, and Butch Trucks is there.
Yeah.
And Butch goes, "Oh man, you guys sound great as ever." He said, "Remember that night up there in Macon, we were shooting pool and we were all screwed up?" I'm like, "Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember that." That was another Fat Chance.
Sure.
And
right.
same thing happened with John Mayall. We did a show with him, and he comes over and he goes, "Oh, you guys sounded great, man." As I remember, we did that show together up there in Milwaukee or something. "Oh yeah, that was great. That was good." And so anyway, I was trying to think of something, another name, get real started. And plus, we also had a reputation of being extreme bottom feeders. We were like seriously, we were bad. We were really bad. Getting just wanted to be out there and playing, and the money really wasn't. We weren't holding out for $100 a man. But so anyway, thought let's get a fresh start, and so I was playing around with ideas, and I was a big Dr. John fan and New Orleans stuff, and Iko. I thought, well, that's kind of cool. It's because it's like Oingo Boingo or Duran Duran.
Right.
I thought it had that kind of vibe to, thing, very contemporary. And of course, everybody know Iko, New Orleans. Like, well, no, nobody had a clue as to what that meant, and even how to pronounce it. So you get like Iko and all that. I remember going up to Tallahassee, playing at the university up there, and there's a big banner. It said ICO. So we had to put something in the contract where you get penalized for doing crap like that, But I think I don't think it was a good name at all. But we certainly put some history into it, and it's it's part of South Florida musical history now.
Absolutely, yeah.
But that was crazy.
So, and then As Iko Iko, you ended up going back to Tobacco Road.
Pardon me?
As Iko Iko, you went back to Tobacco Road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, we went back to Back Road. It was still Fat Chance. It was like a year or so later. And we changed the name on Halloween of 1982. And everybody thought we were being funny. Like, oh, you guys are like welcome for Halloween. Oh, no, we're no, this way.
No,
No.
right, yeah.
There was a lot of like, well, we like Fat Chance. But I get it. But one thing I like about the split there, the name change, is like Fat Chance has got a really tight, clean little history where it was all like the same people. You know, Iko's went through 100 of everything over the last 30 years or so. But Fat Chance was like, you know, really well preserved as an Indian, and there's still the Fat Chance fans out there. You know, they're all in their 80s or something, but they you know, it's still there, and so it's like a turning point. Also, that was where I started concentrating on originality and trying
Original
to you know, get my own catalog together and my own contribution to the party, you know, my own stories.
Yeah, y'all released several albums, right? I could find a couple of them on streaming.
On what?
On like streaming services.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I found Protected by Voodoo and Shine.
Yeah.
Those are the two albums I was able to find.
Yeah, I have Writing on the Rims, a live album from Tobacco Road, and that was like really just my own thing. And then we had I was on King Snake Records in 1988. We put an album out on King Snake out of Sanford, Florida, and that got national distribution, and has also some really good label mates on there. Kenny Neal. It was doing really good, and then Alligator Records took half the catalog, and all the guys went with them, and they weren't paying much attention to King Snake anymore, and so I started my own label, Little Silver.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, and what it was, I didn't even have a CD player, and they said, well, you gotta make CDs, and I got a CD to look at, and I go, well, it looks like a Little Silver record. And so I started my own little record label, and we put out one, two, maybe 5 or 6 records for me or Abba Castilla, Magda Hiller. I have, let's see, there was Snowstorm in the Jungle, Riding on the Rims, Protected by Voodoo, Shine, and then Bullets in the Bonfire, which was the greatest hits collection.
Nice.
And then I have the duo with Albert Casilla and myself, the Bittersweet Sessions. And so I got a nice little catalog there, and plus my songs have been recorded by people like Joey Gilmore, Robert Castilla, Midnight Johnny. So I got stuff out there. I still get checks.
Yeah, nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got a song in the movie Cape Fear.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually in the movie.
Really?
Yeah, the band's in there. It's not. It's of course, they say musicians are like really better capable of handling like failure than real people,
Yeah.
because we deal with it like all the time.
Right.
And so I get this Cape Fear thing was such a big deal, and they bought the song off of me, and it's in the movie and the whole bit. And we went down, we did shoots, and I met Scorsese, and you couldn't talk to De Niro. He was in character. He was Max Cady. So you don't talk to him, but I got to talk to Martin Scorsese, and he liked my record. And
wow.
so we got on. That was it's cool.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so anyway, they bought the song. We got paid really well, and we get advance tickets to go see the movie at the special showing for the press and all things. So we're there, and we're waiting, and there we are. We're in the bar, and you only see it from behind, but they're playing music by Professor Longhair on the sound, and I'm like, what the hell's this? And so, it's like right away, it's like, oh, something's not right. So later on in the show, there's a scene where De Niro gets in that little sports car, and he turns on the radio.
Yeah.
And you hear this, da 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 da, and he changes the channel.
Yeah.
That was me.
Wow.
that little thing there.
Oh, that's awesome.
But that was it. And we're like, that's it? That was it? And let's see. The funny thing is, if you watch the movie at the end, they roll the credits. There's like 4 songs on the credits. There's one by the Cramps. There's the classical piece, Italian classical, and then there's this whole thing there, like "Don't Mess with the Voodoo," "Iko Iko," things, they on and on and on. I had another funny moment with Fat Chance.
Yeah.
We opened a show for Greg Allman on Miami Beach. It was a free concert.
Oh my God! Wow.
It was like 1 million freaking people.
Yeah.
It was Greg Allman and Dr. John and my group. And so there was an airplane flying above with a banner, and it said, Greg Allman, Dr. John, the Incredible Fat Chance Blues Band. It was like 3 times as long as the and it's like, man, somebody put some money up on that.
Yeah.
But that was funny.
The Incredible Fat Chance Blues Band. Oh my God.
He had the Fabulous Thunderbirds, so we had to be an incredible Fat Chance Blues
right?
Band.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Wow. So you've been in Miami. You came here originally for high school, you said, right? Or you went to high school in Rio?
Yeah, I was here when I came here in '66. I was in 8th grade, down in Cutler Ridge.
Oh, okay.
I was a Ridge rat. And then I did the 9th grade over at Palmetto, over here at Palmetto Junior High. And then 10th, 11th, and 12th at Escola Americana do Rio de Janeiro, Brazil.
Wow. And then you came back to Miami?
I went to Boston for a year.
Awesome.
And then I came back here. My parents were still in Brazil. So I was up there. They came back to Miami, so I came down.
Okay. So you've been here for a while then.
Yes.
I'm wondering, what are some of the biggest changes that you've seen? If you can name a few, I'm sure it's a lot. But
Miami in the '60s, it had a real small town feeling to it. It really, you're swimming in the all the little rock pits out there. They were all over the place, and you'd be out doing that, and we'd be outside playing baseball and football in the streets, and it was really fun. You had the Grove I was a little young for that, but there was a big hippie presence in the Grove.
Okay.
And it was an art community at the time. That was the cheap place to live, Coconut Grove.
Yeah.
And it was just all kinds of fun. I remember going down there, I think I was 14. I went down to the Head Shop South. And on Oak Avenue in the Grove. It was like one of the first head shops in America. And Michael Lang was the owner. Does that name sound familiar?
No.
Michael Lang put together a thing, this Miami Pop Festival. They brought in Hendrix, and they brought in everybody, all these guys.
Yeah.
And then they thought, that was really good. We ought to do something like that up in New England. Michael Lang is the guy who put together Woodstock, and that started in Coconut Grove.
Wow.
And so
I didn't know that. It's amazing.
I went to his head shop, and it's the first time I'd ever seen blacklight posters.
Really?
And they had this. It was old wooden house, big porch, and it was a head shop. And I remember the music. They were playing sitar music through the stereo, and there was a back room that was all black light, and all these people on the floor leaning against the wall in the black light, and I had no idea what was going on. You know, I didn't realize like people were like everybody's stoned.
Right.
And of course, I'm 14 years old, and I like Hendrix on the radio and things like that. And I bought a poster called Pipe Dreams. And but anyway, that was my connection with Woodstock there with Michael Lang. Have you seen the movie, the guy on the motorcycle with the curly hair who's coordinating everything? That was from Coconut Grove.
Wow, I didn't know that. That's kind of that's where Woodstock.
Well, Miami had a really good music scene in the '60s, and I think it was wrecked by Jim Morrison.
Really?
No, I think that in Coconut Grove at the auditorium there, Dinner Key, when that happened, Miami was still like a quiet southern town, and it wasn't this international thing it is today. And anyway, that was so outrageous, what had happened that night, that live music just kind of, there were no venues really to play. We had the Sportatorium up there at Pirates World, but that was all up in Broward. But I think Miami took a really big hit when Morrison did that. It just kind of scared all the straights. Made that.
Can you explain what he did? I don't know if I'm aware.
Supposedly.
Okay.
He exposed himself on stage.
Really?
He was drunk, and he goes, but apparently they said I knew people who were there, and they said he stuck his finger through his.
Really? Okay.
But anyway, that's what wrecked the Doors. That was the end of that.
Wow.
They couldn't get gigs anywhere. Everything was canceled. They just put that album out, the Soft Parade album, and then they couldn't tour behind it. Nobody wanted them.
Really? And that happened in Miami?
That happened in Miami, yeah. and I knew the guy who gave him his summons.
Really?
Bob Jennings worked for the court, and he's the one who delivered the. They served him his papers.
Wow.
And that really messed up Morrison. Morrison pretty much had it by then. It was bad. He was looking at years in jail.
Wow.
And so he ended up in France.
Wow, I didn't realize that. So that
Miami history, like Criteria. I got to go there a few times. I actually had some stuff mastered there, and you look at the walls and the gold records from Aretha Franklin and the Allman Brothers and Leonard Skinner and Dr. John, and just everybody was recording Clapton. The piano, the Layla piano is there.
Oh my God! Wow.
And
wow.
The Miami music history was really something. There's a documentary. It's called Deep City. It's called Deep City.
Yeah, I think I've seen that. Yeah.
I've seen that. Yeah, talking about Miami.
Yeah, Deep City
That
Records.
was cool too, because I got to see some of these guys, like Little Beaver and Billy Miranda.
Yeah.
Guys who just never came out of the neighborhoods. And there was one night at Monday Night Tobacco Road. I was there every Monday, and this one particular night there was a lot of stuff going on upstairs, and there was a young blonde woman from England in the house, and she was there with Betty Wright, the cleanup woman.
Yeah.
And this is Joss Stone. Joss Stone's first trip to America, and they're going to film a video upstairs. And I go up there, and there's Lattimore, Little Beaver. I mean, the whole Miami.
Yeah, Deep City.
Miami, the guys who had pretty much invented disco are up there upstairs, and I'm just I couldn't believe it. And Betty Wright had taken Joss Stone under her tutorage.
Yeah.
And so they're at Tobacco Road. And I was like, man, that was so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the sax player who worked with me, ends up working with her and actually engineering some of her albums.
Really?
Yeah, Jeff Watkins. Jeff left me to join James Brown's band.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. And then he's in a group called the New Orleans Usual Suspects right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The sax player. But yeah, Jeff Watkins, what a great player.
So, yeah, I'd known about Deep City. I actually talked about that with Nikki as well. Just the origins of
the high school marching bands.
Yeah, the guys in the marching
also
bands.
We were talking last night about Fuzzy Samuels. He was the bass player for Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And Fuzzy lived here, and he'd come in the road quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And how he was playing with a local group, and he was like didn't always show up. But and the Daniel McLeod, the percussionist, were Richie Havens. He's at Woodstock. He's a friend of mine. He lives here.
Oh yeah. I think I'm also gonna talk to him too.
Yeah, Daniel.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a trip.
Yeah.
McLeod. Mr. Woodstock.
Yeah. No, I saw Nikki put me in contact with him as well.
Oh, good. Okay.
It showed me the video of him playing with Richie Havens and Woodstock up there. She's like, "Oh, that's him." I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. Yeah. So, you said up until kind of the Jim Morrison incident, Miami was your kind of southern town.
It's a small southern town.
Yeah.
And it started building in the 70s, and when the 80s hit, it really exploded when the cocaine and the drugs, that was huge. And that's the thing in a place like Tobacco Road, where it's open till 5 a.m. And man, it was my job not to know what was going on there.
Sure. Yeah.
And but boy, we had, you'd have clubs they'd have their dealer.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 3 of them.
Yeah.
and these guys are famous for that. And a lot of, you go in the bathroom and like the stalls would be full of
Like that.
oh, so much stuff. And also, you got these guys coming in at 4 o'clock. Hey guys, you're done already. Yeah, it's 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, what do you guys get for a night? They go, we get like $600. 1, 2, 3, 4. Keep playing. So here's another 600. Do another set.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you mark a big change in kind of the landscape.
Oh
of
yeah,
Miami
yeah.
in the 80s.
With everything, like the Grove was like really cool, laid back, a lot of nice clubs and stuff. And I lived in the Grove back then, and that's not happening anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And all the clubs like the Van Dyke out on the beach, all the jazz clubs gone. Everything's got to be whatever disco or whatever they call it now, house music.
Yeah, house music,
DJs. But you had on the beach, you had the Cactus Cantina, Washington Square, Roses, Stella Blue. Anyway, and I played every one of them.
Yeah.
Tropics, the Clevelander.
Yeah, so a lot of those places are gone now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the thing is, not enough venues, and stuff's moved over. There's a lot going on in Wynwood that I don't know about. Mm-hmm. I played at Lanyap and
you played at
Gramps and all that, but that was a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know Wynwood has changed a lot, too.
Oh, yeah.
That
was just it was like a 8-block crack house. And they really turned that around.
Yeah, now it's all modern and
Yeah,
artsy.
$1 million. I was represented by a couple galleries there, the Damien B. Art Center and Deluxe Arts, and I did a show, like I think it was 2002 at Damien B, and I was like one of the first, Wynwood art shows.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Right.
And I had a really good show there, and I got to meet some people. I got to meet Purvis Young, and Purvis was an amazing painter, artist. He was a street person, and back in like the 70s, he had some kind of little bit of problem up here, and he was always painting. It was like an obsession. And he'd find stuff in the street, cardboard or wood or whatever, and he'd paint on that. And he would fill up warehouses. Well, all his stuff. He had a place, it was called Good Bread Alley, and it was just a sidewalk over in Overtown, and he'd make these paintings and hang them on the fence. And Good Bread Alley was like really cool. And then one day the city came and just hauled it all away, like trashed it all, threw it all away.
Jeez.
And that kind of ticked him off, but it kept him working. And then some guy was representing him as an agent, and this group came in from France, and they bought everything.
Really?
Everything.
Wow.
And they said, we'll take the entire warehouse. And by the time they got everything out, he'd like pretty much filled up the warehouse again.
Wow.
And they wanted all that. They said, no, you already got your stuff. But he just went on and on. You can check him out, Purvis Young. Any other city in the world would have, this guy would be elevated. What's that KC and the Sunshine Band?
Yeah.
I remember reading articles in the Herald like, Miami's embarrassing contribution to disco, KC and the Sunshine Band. For God's sakes, you go to New Orleans. Welcome to New Orleans, home of the Neville Brothers, home of Louis Armstrong. They're proud of their people and their artists. Yeah. And they come here and it's like, oh, we're sorry, we invented disco. I'm sorry,
Right.
Henry Stone and his people, TK Records, and they were doing something. Those are real people playing real instruments.
Yeah.
And that KC, that's some good stuff. My keyboard player, Ron Taylor, engineered.
Really?
Wow. the KC stuff. He did. Two Live Crew, as nasty as you want to be.
Yeah.
He's the engineer on that album.
Oh, that's awesome.
And Ron is unfortunately in really bad shape with his kidneys. It's he's no longer he's not playing anymore.
Yeah.
But he was there, and he didn't talk about it. And every once in a while, it's something to come up. And I remember asking, if you're familiar with the Get Down Tonight, it starts off with this thing, and I don't know what it sounds like, a synthesizer. And and I asked Ron about that, and he said, "Oh, no, that's a guitar." And they told me how what they did and how they looped it and did everything to make it sound like that. And I said, "Damn, I would have never guessed."
Oh yeah. No, that's interesting that you say that, because I guess it has to do with the history of disco and the whole disco sucks movement. But
I think the trouble with Miami is that everybody's from somewhere else, and they bring with them what they have,
right? And
so stuff from Miami isn't as good as the stuff where you came from.
You know? Sure.
And so it's just like, local, you know, there isn't that kind of pride. You don't see it in the baseball team. You don't see, the Miami kind of thing. Everybody's like Buffalo or somewhere else, and so it's really hard to get people excited. Even successful people from Miami had to leave to become successful.
Right.
They had to go to Nashville or LA or somewhere.
Right.
Because you're sitting here and there's nothing going on because you're part of this thing. And so it's really it's difficult. And plus you have the real split, as I talk about it's hard to find a common ground a lot of times. When you go out, you don't want to listen to salsa, but some people do, and it's just hard to find, like, what do we all like? What can we find that will unite us? And the blues is really interesting down here. So many times people would say, you remind me of bands from where I came from.
Really?
You remind me, like, if you're from Chicago or from New York. Or,
right.
You're that kind of thing. You sound like an American, the America that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
And then we get these people down here, like Eric Garcia with Juke, and all that. People, Cubans who embrace the music. Rochelle Coma. Rochelle's wonderful. I played with her last night. She went to Clarksdale, Mississippi this morning to play at a festival there.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're doing on Sunday night. This probably 60 Minutes is doing a special on Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Really? Oh wow.
And the Juke Joint Fest, and that was someplace where I was seriously considering moving.
Really? From
to
here.
Retire in Clarksdale. It's the ground zero of the blues.
Right.
It's where it all came from. And they got music there 7 nights a week, 365 days a year.
Yep.
But it's all as broke as you can be. It's a very, very poor. It's like one of the poorest cities in the poorest state.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have a grocery store.
Really?
They had one, but it got wiped out by a Walmart. They had a Kroger's.
Wow.
So it's it's a health desert, it's a food desert.
Yeah.
But it's a music and art
haven.
It's fantastic.
Wow. Okay, yeah, so we talked a little bit about the past and the present and how things have changed and whatnot, and I think it's interesting you say that as well, because being here for a short time in Miami, I noticed there's not a big culture of preserving history.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, because everything here kind of sucks, right? That's and also it's like a history that belongs. If you came here in the last 10 years, you have no connection to the last 80 years here in Miami. And so things aren't that important. And, now they're trying to figure out a way to bulldoze all the Art Deco buildings,
I know.
And get rid of that stuff.
Ridiculous.
And it's like, there's something just, historically, they're charming, and it's wonderful buildings. They're real. You go in the rooms in these hotels, and they're the size of closets.
Yeah.
And, it really doesn't make any sense.
No.
They're very small things.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of like a stability. You go, it's there. It's always been there. It always will be there.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. And also we're dealing with a thing. This is going to be underwater. I've been here for 50 years. 50 years from now, this is going to be, it's going to be Atlantis.
Yeah.
And so I say these people like talking about preserving everything. I was like,
It's
get
going
it while you
underwater.
can. You make a buck, good for you. I think everybody should be looking at the Georgia border.
Yeah. Wow. So just wrapping up here, if you have any last words of wisdom or advice for young musicians.
Young musicians.
And, coming up, get out of Miami, I guess, or, you know.
Yeah, well, I'm like I said, people I've worked with, you know, they'd come and talk to me, and I say, I want to, you know, this is what I want to do. And I said, well, you know, if you want to pick apples, you got to go to the apple tree. You're not going to find apples in the banana bin here. That's not happening. And so if you want to go to Nashville, if you want to go to L.A., you know, and if you're good enough, if you think you're good enough, and you are, you know, you're not going to get anything going on here. But everybody I know who left did amazing things. They went on to you know, make a real career out of music. Like my whole band left and moved to L.A., and those guys are doing great. Half of them teach at the Music Institute in L.A., and my former sax player is working with the Ultimate Bowie Tribute.
Oh, wow.
That's with Todd Rundgren.
Yeah, wow.
And the guys from Duran Duran, and
Yeah.
Adrian Below on guitar.
Sheesh.
From King Crimson.
Wow.
So that's what he's doing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And yeah. And so, and you know, just, you know, go where it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's my advice to anybody. If you've got it, if you've got what it takes, then they're going to recognize the real deal. Wherever you go, you know, and that's what happened with, you know, my guys out there. I had such great players. I was so privileged. The thing was, I had the gig at Tobacco Road, and I could tell people, this is what you're going to be doing. This is the work. We were going, you know, maybe 5 nights a week,
Right.
a lot of times, and then we toured and things. But I could guarantee somebody, you know, you're going to get a paycheck. It's not going to be hit and miss. You know, we were there all those years, and there's all the other opportunities that came out of that. And so I could have almost anybody I wanted. If they wanted to work with me, you know, if I wanted them and they wanted me, it happened.
Yeah.
And but the thing is, they were all like really motivated people.
Yeah.
And who wanted to make records and make songs and tour and go out there, and you know, you can only go so far, you know, with that.
Yeah.
And then you're going to want to, you know, get further on.
Sure.
And so that's what that's one of my greatest joy is like the success of my people I've worked with and people that I've helped along the way. And that was the best part.
Yeah.
My kids.
Yeah.
I'm the old guy.
Well, yeah, that's great. But we talked about this with Nikki as well, but just sort of legacy and passing on what you know.
And Nikki's amazing at that. You know, all of her students, all those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I think that covered everything I wanted to cover.
Okay.
Thank you so much for doing this. It's a huge honor.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
That's I'm very flattered. I'm very honored to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, of course. All right, that's Graham Wood Drout in Miami, 2023. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Towed down Sunday afternoon, holed up in a stone cold hotel room. I'm shaking like a stray cat in a sack, and I'm feeling just like Jesus just came back. The sky was blue and now bloody red, color of this pain inside my head. Hold me, make it all fade into black. I'm feeling just like Jesus just came back. back, and I'm feeling just like Jesus just came back.
I see you, I see your art, I see all the brushstrokes, every detail pulled apart. Show me how it came about. I don't mind listening to you. Give me half of your time, half of your mind. Give me clips just to synopsis. You know me better than I think. You've read the book, you know how it all. Turn the page, read the back before you go. Get into all that. Just give me half of your time, half of your mind, and give me clips just a synopsis. Apart, shred up my fears. You don't have to stay very long. Shatter the glass, come in for a beer. You don't have to stay long here. Just give me one little hint to where you've been.